The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
From Mallory Square in Key West to the Governor's Mansion in Tallahassee and all points beyond, you're listening to the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com, your source for all things related to the craft beer community in the Sunshine State. And now your host, Dave Butler.
Welcome to episode 66 of the Florida Beer Podcast, powered by FloridaBeerBlog.com. This is Dave, your host and author. Today is going to be a quickie sneak preview. But before that, we want to welcome the Fresh Mix to the Florida Podcast Network, hosted by Gerard Legagneur, fresh out of South Beach. This is going to be an exciting mix of interviews with movers and shakers from across the state. Definitely very excited to welcome them to the Florida Podcast Network family. Recommend that everybody go check them out. And if you need the details, just go to FloridaPodcastNetwork.com. Once again, that's the Fresh Mix. Sunny, salty, Floridian. And if you're in St. Pete, then you are a very lucky person, because coming up on Saturday, April 10th, is the third annual Grand Central Beer Day. The Grand Central District is close to Tropicana Field, and it's home to now 8 different breweries, including some favorites of the blog, such as Three Daughters, Pinellas Ale Works, Cage Brewing, and of course, right around the corner, Arcade Brewery. And we are chatting with their 2 co-owners, John McMahon and Tom Rockhill, to understand the history of the event, as it was started by another great brewery, If I Brewed the World, and to discover all the exciting beers that are going to be on tap this Saturday. If you can get out there, definitely do so. Make sure to take lots of pictures and tag us at Florida Beer Blog on Instagram and Twitter, and enjoy this special sneak preview. My first question is not only about the event, but kind of the location, because the Grand Central District has really been taking off when it comes to a nice little area of St. Petersburg.
Yeah, Grand Central has exploded over the last couple of years. We've been here coming up on 6 years, and the difference we've seen is amazing. The foot traffic here on just a weekday is great. It's a nice little cozy neighborhood. There's plenty of parking. There's plenty to do. We've got 6 breweries within very short walking distance. You can come spend a whole afternoon here, no problem.
And with the breweries, is there a lot of communication between all of you? Because I know you've got some, like you and If I Brewed the World are kind of on the smaller end, and then you've got some bigger players like Grand Central Brewhouse that just opened, and Cage and Paw, and then of course you've obviously got the behemoth that is Three Daughters. Is there a lot of communication and sort of working together in the name of the district between everybody?
Absolutely. We actually have a neighborhood district, the Grand Central District Association. And they have done, and David and their team has done a really great job in collaborating with all the breweries and actually all the businesses in the area. But communication amongst the breweries has been great. We're all a team, and we know the more people that come to the area, the better for the businesses, the better for all the small businesses on Central. And now within a mile radius, we have 8 breweries now.
That's amazing. And they're all a little bit different. It's not the same, hype beers or the same German or the same this or that. Everybody kind of has their own slightly different style from what I remember seeing.
Yeah, absolutely, which is another great thing about coming to this area. There's so much variety. You're not going and drinking the same IPA at 3 different places. You could go to Grand Central, and their thing is kind of the lagers. And Kevin, If I Brewed the World, he's into the, getting kind of crazy. And, and we've got just some really classic styles that we like to put little twists on. There's plenty to do around here.
Awesome. And I guess, how did the Grand Central District Beer Day idea start? obviously you would want to celebrate all those, but who actually was the person that decided that this should be a thing?
Yeah, sure. It all started with an email from Kevin, and Kevin kind of pioneered the event at If I Brew the World. He wanted to all do the same style and get together and kind of have almost like a beer pub crawl event, which, we collaborated with the Grand Central District Association with David, and he kind of helped us put it together and really define a good way to get people out to just kind of cruise the streets, walk around. Everything's walking distance. And I believe it was a collaborative decision to kind of pick a style or pick kind of a theme. For example, the first time we picked, what was it?
Wheat beer, fruited wheat.
Fruited wheat. And then the second year we did the dark side. So everybody did kind of a darker collaboration. And then this time is actually the lighter side. So I know Tommy can speak to what beer we're going to do and why we chose that beer.
Awesome. Yeah. So I guess I would love to know what you did for the first 2 years. So for the first year with the fruited wheat, what was your release?
So we took Miss Pac-Man, which is it wasn't Miss Pac-Man. We took a take on Tiffany's Melons, which is our flagship beer. So that's watermelon wheat. So I took that base and I added lemonade and apricot to it.
That's amazing. That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, and it worked quite well because it ended up being like the first really, really hot day of the year. So people were walking around sweating, and it was a crusher. People would come in and have 3 or 4 of them in a relatively quick seating because it went down easy.
Nice. And of course, the first one was a really hot day, so the next year you all went dark. So what was your dark beer for that year?
I believe that was our Oreo cookie stout.
That sounds phenomenal. I'm assuming that you used real Oreo cookies.
I did. The great thing about being St. Pete's smallest brewery is I can just go nuts on ingredients where the bigger guys would have to go ahead and buy the flavors in a jug. I went to Publix and I bought, I want to say it was 20 packages of Oreo cookies, and I put them right in the bright tank with a milk stout. And that was the big thing that everybody noticed drinking it. They're like, this tastes like a legit Oreo. And I told them exactly. I didn't think regular Oreos would be enough. And I thought double stuff might be too much. So I split it right down the middle.
Awesome. That makes sense.
And that's a beer we've made again. People who haven't been in here in months will come in asking, well, where's the Oreo cookie? So every once in a while, I go ahead and make some more of that.
Gotcha. And obviously this year it's going to be on April 10th. And all 8 breweries are participating, correct?
Yep.
And what are you going to be releasing for this year's event?
We're taking one of the first beers that we brewed as a brewery. We were open for about a year as just a craft beer bar, and then we slowly got into the brewing. First beer we made, it's called Drop Beats, Not Glasses. It's a classic Saison style that I've been brewing since my home brewing days, and we're adding cucumber to that. We're hoping for a nice hot day because that's another nice, refreshing, easy drinking beer.
That sounds phenomenal. And it's amazing how cucumber has really taken off in craft beer.
Yeah. I mean, I hate to say I did it first because I didn't do it first, but I totally copied Cigar City, who did it years and years and years ago. And now it's everywhere. I drank a cucumber IPA the other night. So they're going hard with the cucumber, but it's cheap and it's refreshing.
That's amazing. And so I guess if people wanted a little bit more information on the event, or if they're going to the event, what would you sort of have them do? What would you have them prepare for? Where should they go once they get there?
So that's a good question. Each brewery actually has a map. So I'd actually recommend that whatever brewery you do start at, you take a look at, there's table tents and there's small little maps you can grab from every brewery and pick one of those up and just make your rounds. I would definitely, they're all walking distance. They're all within about a mile radius. I believe, is Bayboro the furthest?
Bayboro would be the furthest from the action here.
Yeah. Bayboro is about, I would say, half a mile from our location. So, but each brewery is doing their own different style. We're doing the cucumber saison. Who's doing the strawberry blonde? Here, if you want, I can. You want me to rattle off which beers are?
Yeah,
are at each brewery?
We would love to know.
Should have had that on hand, but Give me just one sec.
The event's also great because it will get people into each brewery. You know, everyone kind of has their own favorite hangout, and this being such a nice, quiet neighborhood, it's very locals driven. So it gets you out, and you'll forget that, you know, If I Brewed the World is right there, or you might be going to Bayboro for the first time since they're relatively new. So it's sharing our customer base with each other.
I was going to say this. Well, another thing Kevin tied in from the beginning from If I Brewed the World was to add a charitable aspect to it. And, you know, one of our favorite charities, like, you know, they're locals, they're regulars, they're friends at Pet Pal Animal Shelter. So all of the breweries have actually collaborated and decided to donate $1 of every beer sold from all the breweries. So then, you know, the end of the day, we calculate from each brewery, and we all write a check over to Pet Pal and present it to them because they're literally right around the corner from us.
Awesome.
And yeah, so it's a charitable event. It's a walking event. It's an outdoors event. It's a brewery collaboration. We're hoping that it'll bring a lot of people to all of our local businesses in the area and shops, because Grand Central has a ton of boutiques and just a ton of antique places as well. And I'm still looking up these beers. I know. Here we go. So like I said, right around the corner, Arcade Brewery, we're doing a Cucumber Saison, 6.4%, called Drop Beats, Not Glasses. Grand Central Brew House, which is less than a block away, is doing a Hellas Rock Beer at 6.4%. Bayboro Brewing hasn't announced what they're doing quite yet. Three Daughters is doing a tropical New England IPA with toasted coconut, pineapple, and dry hops with Cascade, Simcoe, and Centennial hops.
Interesting.
Yeah, Kevin at If I Brewed the World, he's doing a strawberry vanilla cream ale. Avid Brewing is still to be announced. Pinellas Ale Works is putting together a tangerine blood orange sour ale. So there's your sour light side. and finally, the 8th is Cage Brewing, and they're doing a take on a blonde ale with strawberry.
That sounds amazing. And so it sounds like there's a lot of different stuff, even though you're all kind of similar in terms of lightness. It still seems like there's a lot of great beers that are going to be dropping on the 10th.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is, well, depending on what Avid and Bayboro do, they're all different styles. Yeah, a blonde, sour, a cream ale, a New England IPA, a Hellas rock beer, and then a Cucumber Saison. So it'll be interesting to see if somehow, we did not collab to do all different styles. So it should be interesting if all 8 are all different styles. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much for coming on, and hopefully we will get some reviews on everything that's going on April 10th in Grand Central.
Thank you, Dave. We appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Hey there, fellow Florida beer enthusiast. We now have an official Patreon. In case you are unfamiliar, Patreon is a great way for a community to support the creators of the content you love, like the Florida Beer Podcast. If you're enjoying the content we bring you on this show, or any of the shows on the Florida Podcast Network, you can help ensure that content keeps coming through for a small monthly donation equal to the price of a couple cups of coffee a month. So for just a few lattes, you can make a real difference. And the first goal of FPN's Patreon program is to help me get a better mobile setup to use whenever I can start traveling to great breweries here in the state of Florida. So if today's episode brought you valuable insights and information, please help see that these episodes keep coming by becoming a patron. Head to patreon.com/Florida Podcast Network to support the show, and it comes with some pretty sweet benefits. Want access to bonus extras? Nostalgic for these old school radio shoutouts? Lover of good quality merchandise? Well, not only will your monthly contribution help me grow the show, but you'll get some cool stuff in return. So please head to patreon.com/Florida Podcast Network for further details to become a patron. That's Patreon, patreon.com/Florida Podcast Network. You can also find the link right there in the show notes or by visiting floridabeerpodcast.com. Thank you in advance for your continued support. For details about today's show and the event, head to floridabeerpodcast.com. We'd really love your feedback. The Florida Podcast Network has a closed Facebook group exclusively for fans of the shows, like the Florida Beer Podcast and the Fresh Mix. Just search for FPN Insiders on Facebook to leave a comment, tell us the latest information, and if you do get to go to the Grand Central District Beer Day coming up on the 10th, definitely let us know as well. I am excited to hear all about it. Florida Beer Podcast is a production of FloridaBeerBlog.com. You can find us at FloridaBeerBlog.com, FloridaBeerPodcast.com. We're on social media at Florida Beer Blog on Instagram and Twitter, FL Beer Blog on Facebook, or you can write us directly at FloridaBeerBlog@gmail.com. We are also a very proud part of the Florida Podcast Network, and once again, you can find all those shows at FloridaPodcastNetwork.com. Our intro announcer is Jeff Brozovich. Field producer is Steve Pekala. Executive producer and Grand High Poobah is Jemmy Legagneur. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed listening to the episode, please subscribe. Give us a nice juicy review and rate us 5 stars on the podcasting app of your choice. Thank you so much. Enjoy Grand Central District's Beer Day coming up on the 10th and drink Florida Craft.